Will SOYINKA have came out again, exposed himself, for what he is. That's where it is. You can't pretend for a long time. You always come out one way and the other to expose yourself as to who you are in reality or in actuality. So there is this video. I have been listening to this man, Dr. Cornel West, former professor of the University of Princeton. He was booted out from that university because of what he stands for. Justice, justice, justice. For the oppressed, for the poor, for the working people, working Americans who are not getting the right wages, fighting the Wall Street, the corruption in Washington, and of course, justice for the Palestinians. And of course, brothers and sisters, whether white or black, around the world. That is what this man stands for. So he was ready to leave. They want him to leave that university. He left, because he had to fight for freedom for his fellow humanity. And this is a former university professor, very, very brilliant individual. I'll be following him. Also, if you look at Peterson, former university professor in University of Canada there, I think Ontario or something like that. And he was also driven away from university there because of what that man stands for. Justice for the men. What we call rapee, but he's not actually rapee. So, but he stands for justice. He's a conservative individual. Whether Cornel West is actually a liberal individual, but they all fight for justice. So it's very, very important because of what will SOYINKA have turned himself to be, and not jail or ridicule. This man has never said he was going to renounce his Nigerian citizenship because of what is going on in Nigeria. You can see a lot of corruptions. And you see why you see that people are fighting now over, elections in Nigeria. Governorship elections kill themselves. Presidential elections kill themselves because we are not in democracy. We have never been. And after the military dictatorship, we have another dictatorship of a different form, which is dictatorship by rotation. What I would call, some men that just gathered themselves, they begin to rotate themselves. We don't have right in Nigeria. Nothing is working. And governors are not asked at the end of the year what they've done with the money that came to their office. All ministers, they are not asked. The police, whoever that will be in charge of the money to buy, let's say the Minister of Defense will not transfer the money to whoever that will be there. The man there will not show what he have bought with the money. If you come to police, the same thing. That's why you have all those major, all those general. They have a lot of houses in Abuja, and one person will have up to 20 houses or big buildings, giant buildings. The same thing with police. The man who's in charge of police commissioner, whatever, we have something like that. During this election, as always, even during the past elections, Nigerians are get shot, they are killed. And this very one, this Tinubu Obi Atiku election was the worst because they were ready to get Obi out of the way because Obi represent the people, okay? And the people have been listening to him. What he's saying resonate with the people. We want a change. We want democracy. What we have today in Nigeria is not democracy. So under Obi, or what Obi was offering was democracy. In case he won the election, he would bring about that democracy. So during these campaigns, a lot of people were trampled, were killed, intimidations during elections, especially in Lagos, where some few Yorubas, not all Yorubas, okay? Few Yorubas were intimidating everyone, especially the Igbos in Lagos, threatening them if they come to vote for Obi, they will be killed. They were caught on cameras live, and till today, these people are not arrested. They have never been prosecuted. That is the nation that we have. That is no democracy. Under 8 years of Buhari, terrorism has been the order of the day. This Fulani herdsmen with AK-45, usually in Nigeria, it's against the law for you to be armed, for you to go around even with a knife back in the days. It is still like that. But you have this above the law. people that cannot be touched in Nigeria because they are the president people. Okay, they go around with cattles now going around on schoolyards, grazing on schoolyards and people's farm with AK-45. You cannot say anything. When you say anything, they kidnap you, they kill you. Where you going to take the case to? The police are with the president. The military are with the president. The courts are with the president. So you don't have democracy in Nigeria. Okay, so SOYINKA have not been crying out against all this injustice, all this killing of his own fellow Nigerians, about crying out about or protesting that he was going to renounce the Nigerian citizenship because of the gross corruption. The image of Nigeria today is not because of those who are into fraudulent acts on internet. No, it's because nothing is working in Nigeria. Himself, SOYINKA was disgraced at the airport. He was turned back from going to South Africa just because he didn't have visa on himself. If you look at former Nigerian President Olusegun Obasanjo was disgraced at the airport there in Canada. See, that is what they are going about with that disgrace, because nothing's working back at home. People have giant homes everywhere. Things are not working. They are like prisoners in those houses because they could get kidnapped. You don't have running water today in Nigeria. People are dealing with boreholes. Boreholes are not for human beings; they are for animals. SOYINKA have not been, talking about this. A lot of, like I said, during this election, a lot of Nigerians were shot dead by the police. SOYINKA have not come out and say, "I'm not going to eat. I'm going to renounce my citizenship if these things are not addressed." So, why I want to do this video, and this is where I speak, I have to make I had to build my case, try to do some segue before I will start what I want to do. So this very video, like I was saying before, this man, Dr. Cornel West, was booted out of the University of Princeton. He was former lecturer there because of what he stands for: justice, justice, and justice. So because today, a lot of societies today in United States, Nigeria, everywhere, you don't have justice for the poor, for those who are oppressed, for those who are being killed, like black folks killed in America, by the cops. Nigerians are being killed every day by the Nigerian police. SOYINKA has not been protesting. So I just want to do this. Let's listen to this man right here. Here he was speaking at the Oxford Union concerning Wall Street and all of those injustice that's going on in America and of course outside America. So I would like us to listen to this. Okay, so let's play this video and see.
Mr. President, my dear brother, thank you very much for the kind invitation, and to the honorable colleagues of mine on both sides of this proposition, and to all the brothers and sisters of all colors, and especially the younger generation who we are bequeathing the world to you, I have this to say. Wall Street and the critique of Wall Street and Occupy Wall Street movement for me is a matter of life and death. I was arrested twice. Police dragged us. Harlem, 125th Street and 7th Avenue, as well as in front of Goldman Sachs. We put Goldman Sachs on trial. 6-hour trial, guilty. Why? Because I decided a long time ago I was going to be part of the legacy of Martin Luther King Jr., Fannie Lou Hamer, Dorothy Day, Rabbi Abraham Joshua Heschel, Gustavo Gutierrez, saying what? Engage in a fallible quest for unarmed truth, and the condition of truth is to allow suffering to speak, so you look at the world through the lens of the weak and vulnerable. I don't care what color, what civilization, what sexual orientation, to try to get outside of yourself.
Amen. Yes.
And also engage in a fallible quest for unconditional love, because I am a revolutionary Christian. I assure my dear honorable colleague, I am a revolutionary. But I'm a revolutionary Christian, which means I understand that there's greed inside of all of us. All of us have gangster proclivities. We need democratic accountability. And what the Wall Street movement, what the Occupy Wall Street movement was all about was the call for democratic accountability for corporate hypocrisy, corporate mendacity, and corporate criminality. We find the money when it comes to jails and prisons for the weak and the vulnerable. I live in a society in which 22% of all of its children live in poverty, richest nation in the history of the world. That's morally obscene and spiritually profane. And I use the language of R.H. Tawney, one of my great heroes, the Christian socialism of R.H. Tawney, or the libertarian socialism of my dear hero, William Morris. There's a connection between what I'm talking about and the best of Oxford. Well, the last line of Percy Shelley's great revolutionary pamphlet, A Defense of Poetry, poets are the unacknowledged legislators of the world. And he's not talking about versifiers. He's talking about all human beings who decide to muster their imagination and empathy to conceive of a better world given the social misery and suffering in this world. 1% of the population in America get 81% of the income just a year and a half ago under my dear brother Barack Obama with his Wall Street government, with his connection to oligarchs and plutocrats. The only reason why the Occupy Wall Street movement took off in the way in which he did, it was the major public response to the class war that's being waged for 30 years against poor and working people, where you get a transfer of wealth from poor and working people to the well-to-do with the shadow banking system. Let's be honest about the billions and billions of dollars that are not accountable in any significant way, that do not generate jobs, don't generate productive value whatsoever, just go into private pockets, and yet workers dealing with stagnating wages, declining wages. How long do you think a fragile experiment in democracy can survive with 1% of the population getting off with that kind of, and I said criminality because market manipulation, insider trading, predatory lending, securities fraud, all of those are crimes. Not one Wall Street banker has even been investigated or prosecuted in any way. Why? Arbitrary rule of power. But it comes from my neighborhood. Come to the hood, come to the black, brown, or red community, get caught with a crack bag, you go to jail for 4 years. But a banker can get off with all kinds of criminal activity, walking around sipping tea, acting like somehow we don't know, acting as if we were born last night. I was born at night, but not last night. In America, where I come from the American empire. America is both fragile experiment in democracy, but also an adventure in empire. 1% of the population own 42% of the wealth. The top 400 individuals have wealth equivalent to the bottom 150 million. That's oligarchic, plutocratic, to some degree still pigmentocratic. And you talk about the legacy of white supremacy that I've taught in prisons for 32 years. We put $1 trillion into the prison industrial complex, but when it comes to education, we can't find a penny. When it comes to decent housing, we can't find a penny. When it comes to jobs with a living wage, we can't find a penny, but we find them. Is that a hand or is that just a camera? That's just a camera.
See, this guy is very fun. It's very fun to watch and to listen to. He always adds some few comedies, what he usually refer as, blues, or funk to whenever he's, tackling any topics or any issue. So I really love him for that. The guy is very brilliant, when you listen to this guy, sometimes you just get lost. You just watch all his videos. I always compare him, to Chris Hedges. Chris Hedges was just ordinary, a guy who I think worked for CNN before, I don't remember, or MSNBC. He was a war correspondent, a journalist. And when Chris Hedges actually is making speeches, and oh my God, you fall in love with that guy. You get lost on time because you have this beautiful vocabulary. So this guy is also like that. In Nigeria, why I paused this video because of what he said, I just wanted to talk a little bit of this because we have these antisocial behavior in Nigeria, where you ridicule someone who is highly educated. In other words, someone who is highly educated want to express that with the way he or she speaks. I'm not talking about, Obayagbon, the man there from, former senator, is it senator, something like that from those state there? I'm not talking about that guy. That guy is a caricature. Okay, I don't want to talk about someone who is speaking with Latin and German and French, Greek. He say he's actually speaking English. That is a buffon. I'm not dealing with that one. But I'm talking about people who can truly express themselves in languages. Okay, we're talking about, like, I give an example. When you go to France, I understand a little bit of French, but every time I'm listening to their politicians, I barely can understand what they're saying. When I was asking somebody, why is it like that? They say that in France, what happened is that the politicians speak with what they call haut français, which means high French. Okay, and it's a kind of culture because France is a very, eloquent country, a country that is very, it's very beautiful to watch. You might not understand this. See, the inventions of wine, champagne, expensive, what they call them, Hennessy's. These are all invented in France. When they have that, why did they have all this? Okay, because they created this haute couture that come from Paris there, where for these high class people. So they decide to have this wine and a lot of drinks to celebrate that culture. I'm sorry that I'm a little bit deviating from what I'm dealing with here, but it's very good for us to learn because that is what makes us, human. We are not dead. So when we are not dead, we need to learn a lot of stuff like that. So they decide to create all this sort of drink, okay, to celebrate that culture, that old culture they have created. They created all the perfumes that you ever think of. They all come from France. Whether it's a German brand perfume, it still has to be made in Paris. Paris is where all perfumes are made. So apart from that, you have a lot of design. They have to create also a lot of clothes, a brand, to celebrate that same culture. That's where you have Yves Saint Laurent, I don't know, all Coco Chanel, Watergate, all those, I don't know, because I'm not really into fashion designing. But apart from some few designers that come from Italy, they are not few, they are there, but I think France dominate there. Okay. So if I remember, I'll begin to mention that, but I'm not into this. Okay, so what am I trying to say is that they also have the language, what's called high language, high haute culture, haut French, high French, to celebrate that same culture. So they are not rebuked for it. Instead, they are celebrated for it. In the United States, the same thing, like this man, Cornel. Sometimes when he's speaking, you really fall in love with him because he has these beautiful vocabularies there. People who he is speaking to, they are not laymen. They are not Nigerians who never been to secondary school or primary school. They are not the market women. He's speaking to people who are educated. So they admire him for that. So when I see in Nigeria, they were attacking SOYINKA of speaking BB grammar. That reflect that antisocial behavior that we have in Nigeria, or antisocial mentality. You see, SOYINKA was wrong for what he has done. For he came out and began to attack, people who actually fighting for freedom in Nigeria. He himself is not doing that. Okay, he should have been quiet because we see him over the years acting like a gangster, taking a gun and going to the studio, try to shoot people, whatever. I don't know. So, but he should have been quiet. Okay, he make fool of himself. So people should rebuke him for that and bring him out as he was brought out the other time, on social media everywhere. So, but attacking him for speaking grammars, that is really, really stupid. That is the most backward thing to do as Nigerians. And we'll be doing that. That is why we see that professors in Nigeria, they don't have this kind of way of speaking as people who are educated. Instead, they are speaking pidgin. You see them speaking pidgin. As a professor, as someone, you lecturing. Who's going to listen to you when you come out of Nigeria? That's very stupid. It's a stupid thing to say. Okay? The Jamaicans, those who are educated, they speak good English, perfect English. When you go to United States, people who never even been to university, you listen to all these rappers. You might sit there, you think that because Nigerians always have this stupid mentality that all the rappers are just rough people. No, go and listen to Jay-Z. Go and listen to their interview. Go and listen to all those rappers that you ever think of. I did a video here the other day. I talk about that. They are better than professors that are coming from Nigerian universities. You know, you will say, but is their language? English is also our language. We've been using it all the way from primary school. I don't know about the Yoruba land. I know there's some place in Yoruba where teachers are still teaching with Yoruba language even up to secondary school level. I don't understand that why. That is why you see their professors, especially from Ibadan. Their professors will be speaking and you will be ashamed of them. Okay? And they will say their professors, you will be ashamed of them because the language you use all the time, you will master it. If you don't, you're going to be struggling to express yourself with that same language because you're not used to it. Your brain will have to work hard to assess whatever you want to use, whatever vocabulary or sentence that you want to use, because you've not been using it all the time. That is why songs, people who are singing or people who sings, they have to always rehearse until their brain how to master. Language is also like that. People who speak all the time always master language, that language they are speaking with. Okay, so it's also our language. With this, for those of us who are not Yorubas, we did our primary school, secondary school, university with this English. Yet we say it's not our language because you cannot do it. You say it's not your language, but you go to other countries. I met some Russians, I met some Germans who speak better than anyone in Nigeria, even though they never grown up with that English language. Okay, so we should stop saying that. And that is what makes us to be attacking people like WOLE when they come and speaking baby grammars. He cannot speak like you. It's an academia. Whenever he's speaking, he's used to that. So we should not be angry with him for that. We should not rebuke him or try to admonish him for that. That is not the problem. That is not the issue at hand right now. The problem we have is that he brought himself out fighting those who are fighting for justice and democracy in Nigeria. That's why I'm doing this video, to show a man like him, a professor like him, who's been fighting for justice and freedom, justice for his people and for those who are oppressed around the world. And this is the man that WOLE is supposed to be like. That's what I will rebuke WOLE for. But it's not that he's speaking big grammar. What kind of talk is that? It's so stupid, so backward. And Nigerians should stop saying that. You cannot do some certain thing doesn't mean you have to insult someone who's doing that. You know, you should regret. You should go back and work on yourself and see. I'm still struggling to try to speak English, but every day I'm improving because I never been to university. I've been to secondary school in Nigeria. There are a lot of things that we have learned wrong that I'm trying to undo right now in terms of how to speak, how to make, how to actually construct sentences. You know, we have to learn that. If you cannot do with them, it's your problem, but you should not try to attack WOLE just because he's speaking BB grammar. What do you want him to be speaking? Pidgin? Oh my God. We should stop that. That's very antisocial. But you see this guy, Cornel West, this is a man, this is the type of person that WOLE should have been like. This is what we're supposed to be hearing from this man. Instead, he's just bought off, by the grain, against the poor, against ordinary Nigerians. Anyone that will speak out, he will fight against them. So that is very bad of him. It's a shame because his education was nothing now. He's supposed to have been a repository for every Nigerian who would have inspired to be like him. A Nobel laureate in literature. The first one we have in Africa. He's supposed to be a repository for a lot of Africans. And say, okay, I want to be like this man. But when you see this guy coming out like this, I don't know. I think, if you have a family, if you have families, they should speak to him because he's not doing what he's supposed to be doing. Instead, he's going the opposite way and he's bringing himself out to be slaughtered. And he has no respect right now. He has no honor in Nigeria. People who never even been to secondary school, mechanics, and I'm not saying mechanics that are bad. That's not what I'm trying to say. I mean, back in the days, people, who cannot go to school, they're the one that will learn mechanics, right? So, but what I'm trying to say is that it's not that I'm just trying to break down mechanics to talk down on the mechanics. No, that's not what I'm saying. Or if I use that language, I know everybody should forgive me for that. But what I wanted to say is that those who never been to school at all are now going online insulting him. They don't supposed to be where he is speaking. This guy's supposed to be speaking to intellectuals or dealing with the Nigerian issue on a high level, defending democracy if at all we have democracy, and fighting for justice in Nigeria. But if not be doing that, I just want to call this in short. If anyone can watch this video, it's called Cornel West Occupy Wall Street debate. We'll let to cut it short here because And I think my video has gone far. I wouldn't want to. I wouldn't want to exceed 30 minutes. Okay. See you in another video. Bye bye.